Hello and welcome to my upper body band/cable workout. We're going to start off with a warm up. We're going to do some Ys and Ts using a light band or a light weight on some cables if we're in a gym. As we're doing this, we want to focus on kind of scooping the shoulder blades up and back and then squeezing them together for the Y and T motion respectively. As we're doing this, we're trying to keep the arms as straight as we can, not trying to bend the elbows. We're just doing 10 of each of these, so it'll be a total of 20. Really keep your core tight and engaged as you're going through this motion. Alright, after this we are going to do some scapular retractions. We're just going to take a small step away from the band or cable, feel that tension, and just kind of let it pull our arm forward as we feel that shoulder blade slide out, and then squeeze the shoulder blades back together right up to the point to where our elbow kind of wants to bend. You can see my elbow starting to bend just a little bit at the very end of the motion. And that's just when the bicep and the lat are trying to kick in and do the rest of the motion there, but we want to stop it kind of right before that and just really focus on squeezing those shoulder blades back and then letting the band kind of pull them forward. Alright, we're going to do the Ys and Ts again. So as you can see from the back here, the motion that I'm trying to do with the shoulder blades is keep them tight and kind of scoop them forward and squeeze them together like I was mentioning before. What this is going to do is alleviate a lot of tension that people tend to hold up in the traps, and it's also going to teach you to kind of engage all those muscles back underneath the shoulder blades there. This is really good for preventing something called scapular winging, which basically is just a fancy way of saying that you have rounded shoulders because your shoulder blade sticks out. Doing stuff like this is also a really good way to open up the chest and loosen up your rotator cuff for any sort of pressing motion. Going back to those scapular retractions now, you can really see from this back view what I'm trying to accomplish. Sliding those shoulder blades back together and then letting them slide straight forward. As we're doing this, as they're sliding forward, we should kind of feel like a bodybuilder trying to flex their lats a little bit. If it feels like you're trying to squeeze your pecs, that actually means you're doing it correctly. When you're squeezing your shoulder blades back together, we're kind of relaxing the pecs, and that's where you can kind of see the elbows wanted to bend there. That's where that elbow bend really comes in. So just watch that and just focus on the scapular retractions. Now we're going to start the workout. Alright. First thing that we are going to do is some standing chest presses. So as we're doing these, we want to have our foot come up to about 90 degrees. If we're doing this with a cable machine, we're just going to do, if we want to do both arms at the same time, that's fine. But we can just do one arm at a time. And if we're going to do that, we're going to do the same arm on the side that we have the leg lifted. So I have my right leg lifted here, I would be doing the right arm. So we're just doing about 10 per side. I know that I don't do consistently 10 here for any of them because I kind of lost count. But we want to shoot for about 10 repetitions on each side. As we're doing these, let the bands or the cables pull your arms back, and it should feel like we are trying to push ourselves away from something in front of us and squeezing our shoulder blades back together behind us. This is also really going to engage our abs. And it should almost feel like we're pressing more from the center of our back rather than the top. Once we've done that, we are going to just turn around and do some tricep kickbacks. Again, if we're just using a cable machine, we can do one arm at a time, or if we're using both arms at a time with a band or a cable machine, again, we can just do that. Kind of going down to a lighter weight or a lighter band, we're going to do 12 repetitions. Squeeze your shoulders back together, keep your elbows in nice and tight, and just push straight down. I always say like your Wile E. Coyote pushing the plunger down on a thing of dynamite. Alright, pause to rest. Alright, going back to those standing chest presses. As we're doing this, we really want to keep our abs nice and tight and kind of focus on that squeezing motion of the shoulder blades and sliding them forward, just like what we were doing in the warm-up exercises. You can kind of see eventually my hands will start doing a small rotation, and it almost looks like I'm trying to throw a punch. And that's kind of the correct motion that we want to go through for any of these pressing motions here. The other thing is, if you'll notice that it kind of looks like I'm almost hyperextending just a little bit. It's just my back is very active at this point and really squeezing everything back together. It's not that the core is underactive or anything like that, because they're very active, trust me. So as we're doing this, keeping the abs nice and tight and kind of maintaining that balance, we're really going to be able to help isolate those pecs and the triceps a little bit. Most of the time when we're doing an exercise like just a bench press or something like that, it's usually very easy for us to compensate with different muscles rather than just the ones that we actually want to use. This case being the pecs and the triceps. So we'll be doing something like this. Like, it's been a while since I've done these. You can even see in the video how I'm kind of moving around and trying to maintain my balance. But this is good because it's engaging my core, it's keeping me balanced, it's keeping me focused. It will help you do the same. Alright, so now we're moving back to the tricep kickbacks. And again, just keeping those elbows squeezed into the side. I kind of don't want those to go forward at all. I'm letting them go backwards as I'm finishing the motion, just kind of completing that full range of motion. But it should just almost feel like I'm doing a bicep curl in reverse as I'm doing these. Again, really thinking about that plunger motion with Wile E. Coyote, just pushing the handle straight down. Alright, pause to rest. Okay, so the next exercise we're going to do is some standing rows. So we're going to take the bands or the cables, and we're just going to walk ourselves out a little bit and do a bit of a standing squat. We're doing this again to kind of engage the core a little bit, and with each row we kind of want to push that chest forward. You can really see I'm pushing my chest forward to do this. And as I'm doing that, what it's allowing me to do is really activate my lats a little bit more and get that full range of motion and drive my elbows and shoulder blades back all the way. And as soon as I'm done with this, what I'm going to do is just stand up, float my hands all the way up and stick them straight in front of me, and we're just going to do some bicep curls. I want to imagine that I've got my arms sitting on the back of a bench or on a bar or something like that, and my elbows can't move, kind of like the inverse of the kickbacks that we just did. As I'm squeezing up, I don't want the weights to come in close under my chin. I'm kind of thinking about pinky to shoulder as I'm squeezing up. That's kind of hard to see in the camera angle here. I apologize. Pause to rest. Alright, here's a side angle of those standing rows. So you can see I'm really trying to puff my chest out as I'm bringing myself forward. It's going to really activate those lats and bring myself to a greater range of motion. You can see as I'm relaxing, my shoulder blades are kind of sliding forward a little bit, and then as I squeeze back, that's kind of the first thing that starts moving in that whole motion there. And that's what we're trying to engage, is just that full lat activation throughout the whole this whole motion. If you're really feeling this in the biceps, that's a pretty good indicator that you're doing it correctly. But you should be feeling these bicep curls in the biceps, because if you're not, then we're really doing something wrong. So as you can see here from the side view, I'm really trying to keep my elbows straight forward, and it kind of just looks like I'm doing a half rep of a bicep curl, but I'm letting my arms extend fully out in front of me and then curling back in. Standing away from the where the resistance is like this, whether with a cable or with a band, is really going to show, pause to rest, really going to show where your inconsistencies or imbalances are. Alright, we're going to move on to our abs next. We're going to do some heel taps for 30 seconds. We want to keep our lower back engaged completely, try to keep the neck as straight as possible. We don't want to be like tucking the chin down all the way and picking our head up entirely. I'll show you in the next set why. But as you can see here, I'm really trying to keep my head straight, trying to keep it locked in, and just focus on squeezing my obliques. After this, we're going to flip over and do some shoulder taps. So get into a push-up position, just going to shift our body weight over from one hand to the other and tap the opposite shoulder. We're going to do a total of 20 reps, so 10 per side. As I'm doing this, I'm really focusing on keeping my abs engaged and trying not to let my hips shift too much in between each rep. From here, we're going to go into some elevators. I'm just going to lower myself down onto my elbows and then back up into a push-up position. We're doing 10 reps, 5 on each side. Keep those abs nice and tight. All right, we're going to rest for a little bit. All right, we're going to do those heel taps again. And if you pay attention to what my head is doing here at the beginning, I kind of pick my head up a little bit more so you can see, what happens when you pick your head up. And you can see my whole upper back really came off the mat there and really rounded the whole upper spine. So as we're doing stuff like this, we want to pick our head up enough that you can see that my hair is just sliding back and forth on the mat there. So we don't want to keep ourselves too far away from the ground there, but just far enough that the abs are able to engage. All right, let's start our shoulder taps now. Again, keeping those abs nice and tight, almost like we're doing a plank, and just shifting and tapping each individual shoulder. I guess we're going to have 2 shoulders. All right, so now we're going to move on to our elevators. Again, lowering yourself down to the elbow, and switching which hand you're pushing yourself up with as you complete this motion. After this, we're finished with the workout, or if this is your first time doing it, you're going to repeat it again. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.